I know the common like school of thought is very much so like, damn, like people's attention spans are short and there's so much out there. How could I ever break through the noise? But I think really what it is an opportunity and a blessing to say like, yo, you have as many chances as you want to break through the noise. Like as many times as it takes, as many videos as it takes. Like at the end of the day, if all you're doing is making art that you believe in, the prospect of having to do more to break through the noise is just making more art.
What's good, bro?
I'm chilling, dog. How are you?
Good, bro.
Okay?
What are you getting into today?
I'm about to go watch the Super Bowl with the homies.
Are you playing it right now or no?
No. I had to shut it off. Got to be respectful.
What are your predictions for Kendrick performing?
I really want to see him do something. Like my big prediction is that Rihanna's gonna pop out.
For loyalty?
Yeah, for loyalty.
Bro, I feel like he kind of has to play Not Like Us. Mm-hmm. But if he doesn't, I'm also not gonna be surprised.
Yeah, it's a weird thing going on with all the lawsuits.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a strict situation.
But like, I don't know.
You are from Virginia.
Yes, sir.
How's living out there?
It's great. I've been out in Los Angeles for about 2 years now. I miss Virginia every day, but it's one of those places that is good to go back to and ground myself and then go elsewhere, you know. So
we were talking a lot off camera so this coincidentally actually started in Virginia. That's kind of where I first got the idea. So Virginia is always like, it's one of my first loves. And Virginia is one of those heartbreaking places for me where it's kind of like, had there been an infrastructure for this shit, I don't think like I would have ever left. And I don't know if like that's the same for you.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those things that Virginia has so much creativity and so many talented people there that I think that because it doesn't necessarily have like a larger city, that there's not a lot of focus towards creative endeavors there from an infrastructure side of things. So there's a lot of talent, but not a lot of places for talent to express themselves or to continue doing the things that further their talents, you know. So whether that be studios, artistic spaces, different things like that. And don't get me wrong, there's a few places that I've come across that are definitely starting to do that type of thing.
Yeah, but for sure.
At the end of the day, it comes down to like a business sense type of thing. Like there's not a lot of businesses that are even able to put on shows because they can't afford to have a lack of sales at the bar or lack of people in the venue, you know. So not a lot of underground shows going on. A lot of people forced to make their own way. So hopefully.
What do you say in one of the interviews? You said you can't sail boats where they don't sell water or something?
Yeah. It's my favorite thing when people ask me what I do. I say I sell boats where the water's at. Where it's like. And
it is kind of one of those things where it's just like, I feel like those environments, they can either force you to get creative because like of the lack of resources, of just trying to figure things out, or it gets deliberating. Like in your song Cavalier, which is fire, by the way.
Thank you, brother.
It was one of those, what do you say? You're like, I never thought I'd miss Virginia.
Yeah.
When you're talking about missing Virginia, is it like, are you missing the environment there? Or are you missing like who you were there? Or was that like who you were over there? I'm not saying like two different people, maybe they are, but like who you were in Virginia, did that kind of force you also to like leave to change the environment? Like what was going on there?
Really what it is I'm an amalgamation of all of the people, things, and places that have shaped me. You know what I mean? For better or for worse. And I think a lot of those people, things, and places are in Virginia. So the lyric itself is, I never thought I would miss it. Drama and problem specific. Distance, it taught me to listen. The mission, it taught me to focus. But solo devotion means ghosting, and rolling the potent means tripping and coasting through motion that's causing commotion. And it's like,
let's get you out there and perform.
I'm saying we could go get it off. But it's like, yeah, I never thought I would miss it because there were so many specific drama and problem related things. But being far away really did teach me to listen and take those things for what they were. And you know, I definitely carried some habits over from Virginia that make me who I am, but at the same time, I am constantly looking back at my time there and seeing how it shaped me.
I don't think people understand how not only big of a state Virginia is, like geographically, but also like sonically.
Yeah.
Like you go down further south, you know, there's the Pusha T's, there's the Neptunes that came out there. Then you go up north and it's like the Junies, the Red Veils.
Yep.
Bro, honestly, I didn't know this until I was getting ready for this interview. I did not know Greek was from Virginia as well.
Yeah. Shout out to homie Mike. He's insanely talented, and he's from a place called Martinsville, Virginia.
Where's that?
It's further south. It's damn near North Carolina.
Oh,
it's funny because when I met him, I wanted to talk to him on some like ACC, like go Virginia, like, type deal. Like worst case scenario, he's a Virginia Tech fan, but it turns out like they're so much closer to North Carolina. They're all UNC fans.
Oh, damn, word.
Yeah, it's like that's how close they are.
And it's also, you have like Tommy Richman, who we were talking about, like out of Woodbridge. And I know Woodbridge, and it's like, it's very like suburbia. Like, you really wouldn't think anything would come out of a place like that. But it's just interesting to see that, like, for the lack of infrastructure that there is out there, and like I'd say the DMV in general, it's also like you have like the highest volume of talent. And like for me personally, it kind of put me in like in a hard position where I was like, okay, like I'm new in this area. I've only been there for like maybe like 4 years at the time. And I was like, okay, like I want to set up shop here and be like a DMV focused brand? But also I felt like that was predatory because I was like, I'm not really from there if you think of it. I've only been there for like such a short amount of time. So it just kind of like, I was wondering like at what point, who's gonna take the sacrifice of saying, all right, fuck going to LA, fuck going to New York, let's like bunker here and create that infrastructure over there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's hard, and I also like I said off camera, like I never like to make somebody feel bad about it. Like I don't put any of this on the artists that are
absolutely not
in Virginia. Like I really do think it's on people such as myself, on Tommy, on Shabuzi, on Netspan.
Shout out Shabuzi, yeah.
Shout out Shabuzi, shout out Netspan. D'Angelo's from Richmond, never forget.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like, it's on us to be able to go back and create that infrastructure, you know, because the people that are in Virginia, as much as they could do that, I understand that at a certain point, like where it became hard for me is I wanted to stand on like making sure everybody is paid well and fairly, right? But to be able to do that in Virginia as an independent artist and be able to make money that can then fund the art, it's hard because videographers deserve to be paid a rack, 2K a video if they're really putting their all into it. But photo shoots, press photos, like
not easy.
$300, $400 for press photos. Like if you want genuine studio time with an engineer who knows the space and is able to not only record you, but bring a production value, like that, it costs bread. And there's, it's hard to be able to pay everybody equally, pay everybody fairly, when also there's not a lot of avenues to be able to make money, such as performing frequently or places to be able to sell merchandise. And we all know what streaming does. You know
pennies
what I mean?
of a penny.
Exactly. So I think just going back there and building that infrastructure, again, not to say that there's not some there, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's not enough to be able to change somebody's life. And that's what we all believe the art should be able to do.
Do you feel like you're getting stagnant out there career-wise?
I think that I was getting stagnant out there as a person. You know what I mean? Because I'm a big believer in growth through discomfort.
Absolutely. And I'm the same way.
And I was insanely comfortable. And for those, like, my story is very much like I was in college, dropped out, went to rehab, got arrested. Like, I was fucking up consistently in Virginia. And then it took people who knew more than me, knew me probably more than I knew me, and knew what I was capable of to say, like, yo, you should probably pursue the music a little bit harder. And I sat down with my close friend, John Waymeyer. He's my executive producer. And we made this thing called Trust the Scheme, which was just like, how can we learn from each release and like get better and do the thing more frequently.
Dude, that's fire.
So it's like we do that. We have a meeting like every year, end of every year. Like, what did we learn? What can we do
Are you guys
better?
looking at it like, is it solely on numbers? Like, how are you measuring the success of each of those releases?
We measure success really by what we learned and what we could do better. And I know that sounds like real cliche, but genuinely in terms of like, what did we learn from this? And it's like the real victory is understanding the position that we're in more and what we could do better to further that position, and less so numerical. You know what I mean? So a very big example is like when I first started putting out full-length projects, I was the critical music theory mind. I'm like, oh, well, you should do 1 or 2 singles and then you got to roll the album out and it should really only be 2 weeks in between. But now we're in a modern music space where dropping music, you can't necessarily do that. And learning from the MyNameIsnt album that we put out, or the BookMark EP that we put out, where we did like 1 to 2 weeks between each singles, we learned that wasn't enough. We put out MyNameIsnt and we did 4 weeks between each single, and we're like, that's low-key not enough time. So now we're doing like 4 or 5 weeks between each single for this upcoming project, and learning like, hey, how can we let things breathe? How can we stretch things a little bit further? How can we still service this release as we move on to another single and then tie them together to make a fluid project? You know what I mean? So
do you feel like is it hard to give things the time they need to breathe in an era where I feel like people they can't take in full ideas? And I always talk about this where it's just like we live in an era where it's just kind of like it's like fast food content in the sense that it's every day there's something new.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to like in this era, and I actually had this conversation with myself because me and you are very alike in the sense that I will get into a bit how we both have an 11th grade teacher that kind of like got our shit going and we're hella fucking anxious. So like my anxious ass, I'm thinking about it like I feel like in this era it's a lot harder, it's a lot easier to pop off, but it's a lot harder to play the long game.
Yeah, and I think that it's also hard as creatives because I was speaking to the homie about this the other day. It's a lot less centralized, right? So there's a lot less objective, subjective places, such as like outlets, blogs, like genuine entities that would tell you like this is the best, or here's our end of the year roundup, like here's why this matters. But at the same time, those entities not being as important as they were anymore allows for the decentralization of it, and we can all get our music out there. So I know the common like school of thought is very much so like, damn, like people's attention spans are short and there's so much out there, how could I ever break through the noise? But I think really what it is an opportunity and a blessing to say like, yo, you have as many chances as you want to break through the noise, like as many times as it takes, as many videos as it takes. Like at the end of the day, if all you're doing is making art that you believe in, the prospect of having to do more to break through the noise is just making more art, right?
And you know, it's kind of gratifying that like, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but you slowly realize, man, people don't give a fuck in like a freeing way. Because I think a lot of people, they struggle with the idea that like everything I need to put out needs to be perfect. And I think that idea of like fixating over like what's perfect ends up delaying shit getting out. But then you
1000%.
realize it's like, bro, no one's sitting here and like in a circle and be like, oh, remember when he dropped that and it flopped?
Yeah.
I feel like the fact that content gets churned out faster gives more of a space for people to forget, like maybe like you did something that it didn't do so well, but it's like you don't have to harp on that anymore because it's like the next thing you drop might pop off and people just like completely forget about the past and go on this.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's a blessing to be able to have this many opportunities, because for those who aren't like familiar with the music space, how it used to operate back in the day is like record labels would sign 10, 15 acts in a particular space and they would really work on one that they believed that would work, and everybody else you're getting shelved. And the reason why you heard the artists that you heard at a certain point in time, they were mad talented, but it's also because they were able to be in a certain situation to be able to get studio time, to be able to press a record, to be able to promote a record, but you only heard a set number of acts. It's like, it's a blessing to not be in that type of space now where you're competing for a chance to compete. You know what I mean?
Bro, literally, I mean, like, I couldn't do this shit, like, we couldn't operate like 10 years ago. Because back then, media was just like, it was the fucking...
Very centralized, right?
It was like Breakfast Club and Sway. And like,
Complex
I love
and stuff like that. Of course.
But it's like, you needed a bigger engine behind you to do this shit, to even like sit down and do interviews or performances. Like, you kind of saw our operation. We're very, like, we're like three guys, you know? But like, I think that's also beautiful about this era where it's just like, and it, like one person, like some people that come to mind when it comes to like kind of taking shit in their own hands, at least for the media space that I can speak up, is like Annabelle with that good shit, Real One Show.
Elsie is really good.
She's dope. She's really super dope. We all kind of saw the same things we didn't like in legacy media and went and did our own shit, like independently, just in our fucking rooms. And I feel like it's almost kind of the same thing with music now, where it's just like, you can pop off in your bedroom with like no engine behind you and still make this shit go.
1000%. And it's like you said, it's like three dudes here. It's like I'm very much a team of me and my friends and people that I was able to grow with, and it's like we're not signed anywhere. Like this is just literally all us, and we own it, and that's why we're able to continue to do it. So it's a blessing, you know what I mean?
I want to go back to the beginning a bit. So growing up in Virginia, I might be wrong, did you grow up under a religious household?
Yeah, very much.
How was that? Because I had a similar experience.
It was tough. It's a lot of guilt and a lot of shame that you feel like, bro, up until a certain age, like saying the Lord's name in vain, it was like a knock on wood, do something, pray real quick. It's like things like that. And I think it was a lot of figuring out of self as I kind of grew out of the church, because I still had my faith, but like going consistently. And I was in an area of the South where you either had your very strict Baptist church or you had your non-denominational, like dudes with faux hawks and jeans playing guitar on stage. And it's like those were the two types of churches. So it was a weird experience. And like I said, I grew up in the church, going to church camps and like doing stuff like that. Yeah.
So I kind of did the opposite, but like on the Muslim side. So like I was very like, my parents were always taking us to the masjid. Like I was always going to Sunday school. And I wonder if it's the same experience. I feel like as creatives, it's kind of hard breaking through that barrier with like, I want to say like your parents, but like in a religious household in general, just because like, you know, like this industry that we're in isn't looked down upon the best with religious folk. And it's kind of like when you grow up in that environment, I feel like it's a lot, you kind of have to like put on a mask.
1000%.
Of like, in front of your parents, in front of the community, you're this person. But like, you're holding back of like who you actually want to be and like how you want to express yourself. So I wanted to ask you, when was that point for you where you're just like, you know what, like, this is who I am and this is who I'm going to be?
Brother, I empathize heavily, bro. My parents still have never seen me perform.
Really?
Yeah, dog. It's like they've never seen me on stage.
I don't think my parents have ever watched an interview. But like that's language barrier thing.
But it's like, dog, like it's a real thing. The family trauma, and not that I have a great family, but the family trauma and like the communication and lack thereof and creativity in a strict household where people might just want the best for you it's always tough. And it's something that I'm still like grappling with.
Yeah,
because like it's hard to talk to the people that drug tested me at like 17, 18 years old because they were mad suspicious of me, that like I'm making music now that also talks about like the lack of trust and communication within the family and stuff like that, and like general relationship stuff.
Have they listened to your music in general?
My dad has. My mom has seen like clips and stuff like that. But my dad has done, I speak on it all the time, but he's always been that dad. Like he grew up playing basketball. He's from Baltimore. Like he didn't play baseball or football like I did growing up, but he took the time to learn, became a baseball dad. Like fucking, he has taken a real interest in the music and I really appreciate it. But at the same time, it's like, again, real hard to talk on that level with somebody where you're like, a lot of the stuff that formed me being able to speak about this type of stuff and the type of person that I am also is in direct opposition to what you wanted for me. So
interesting way to put it. Now I'm thinking about it. Was that kind of like a motivating factor for you to leave Virginia? Because I'm in Dallas right now, right? And it's so funny that what we were talking about earlier about like, you need to be uncomfortable. I was literally just talking to my wife about this yesterday, where I feel like everyone in Dallas is kind of the same in terms of like it's a very conservative community, like within the Muslim community there. And I just feel like when you're not around like-minded, not even like-minded people who are trying to do the same thing with the same mindset, it starts getting very lonely.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if that's kind of the same thing with you growing up, a conservative environment in Virginia. It's like, it gets a lot lonelier and you think you're a lot crazier for doing what you want to do.
Yeah, man. I mean, I have a weird experience because before I moved to Virginia, my family is from like the middle, like damn near Amish country, Pennsylvania.
No way.
Yeah,
yeah.
Watsontown, Pennsylvania. Shout out.
I actually know where that is. I had a friend who worked out there.
Yeah. So my family's, when I moved to Virginia, it was a lot of ostracization in terms of like, I was like a country, like I listened to like Tim McGraw when I moved to Virginia, then I get there. I'm there.
Should we cut that out?
No, it's fine, brother. It's fine. I listened to a lot of country music before I had known because I grew up in the country.
Yeah, that's all you knew.
And then I got to Virginia and they looked at me and said, "You ever heard grinding?" We're gonna show you on the lunch table right now. Like it's funny. So it's like my experience in terms of ostracization in different areas. Is weird, right? Like I don't feel like I ever felt fully there in Virginia, just like I never felt fully there in Pennsylvania, just like I don't fully feel here. in Los Angeles.
Too foreign for here, too foreign for there type shit.
It's like, so that's kind of the vibe, but that's more on me as a person than it is the areas, you know?
Was it in high school where you first started getting to music?
I've always been real into music, but my parents aren't. So it's like I listened to the few things that they played, like the Michael Jackson History like compilation disc. I listened to that a lot, and then
bro, my dad was into Michael Jackson too. I don't understand like what's up with religious parents and like they give like an excuse for Michael Jackson.
Yeah, it's a hard no for everything else, and
but
then
Michael
like
Jackson,
100%, and Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it's like they were.
For my dad was Phil Collins as well.
Ah, nice. I respect it. Yeah, they were all into that, but not really anything else. So for me, music exploration was like real under the table, and my first ever time using like a musical DAW or anything like that was after my parents heard me listening to Odd Future, and they were like, "Hell no,
bro!
Like you got to get rid of that."
Crazy, bro. So I lived overseas in Qatar. Okay, I oh my god, bro! You just unlocked a memory. I was a huge Odd Future fan, like the fucking biggest. I remember there was this kid because it was really hard to get the U.S. shit shipped out there.
Yeah.
So there was a kid, he just came back from a trip from America, and he had a bunch of Odd Future shit.
Yeah.
So I bought like 3 of the t-shirts. I think, and one of them was like, how you know how they used to do the inverted cross?
Yeah.
One of them was that. And I think my dad, he didn't see that t-shirt, but he saw like, what's Odd Future? And he pulled up on YouTube, and
Not
of course.
not a good
Yeah,
person. At that time, not
Oh
great.
yeah, like this is 2011. So like, dude, like there was like a video of like Odd Future, they worship the devil.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, Ahmad, go return these shirts now.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck.
Dude, my parents heard me listening to EPAR by Earl off the Earl tape.
Oh,
and
damn.
not a great song to play around your parents.
not at
And they were like, either you find clean versions of these songs or you're not listening to music on the phone.
So, but at least
I had to make my own. I was on Audacity.
No
Like,
way.
That's why my first time ever, like, quote unquote, making music was going on Audacity to, like, dead ass, like, gain reduce all the curse words. So I'm, like, taking Yonkers or taking, like, EPAR or taking some of these early Odd Future songs, like Astro by Mellow Hype. And, yeah, real.
My boy.
And I would take dead-ass gain automation and just turn the curse word all the way down. So you would get songs like going all the way through and then silence. And then the song come back, silence.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really know how to make like clean edits.
Yeah.
So that's my first time ever like making music. So coming from a strict religious household had a lot of influence on that.
What else do you take from Odd Future's music into your own palette?
Honestly, I think a lot less nowadays than I did back in the day.
For
Mainly
sure.
because I'm a sponge in terms of when I listen to music, like I want to make that.
Yeah.
You know, so I listen to a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily make now for influence and to just try and be different. But if I could say I took anything from Odd Future, I think it would be the level of creativity amongst people who you would assume were in different genres. Like people talk about like Sid and Frank and like the internet and like Steve Lacy, everybody, like they're considered like the alternative singing side of that. But it's like, you ever heard Sid rap? You ever heard Frank rap like on Sunday or DHL? Like
Frank rapping's my favorite shit.
exactly. It's like we saw what Tyler could do being able to sing with the Igor project. It's like the artistic development and the growth from all of them is what I hope to be able to achieve. Like Earl reaching like the DMV trap stage of his career with like 2010 and now parlaying that into like working with El Cousteau and stuff like that. Like that's artistic growth. So I love them for that and their ability to do that.
You mentioned once before that you thought you would always be the fan of Colossus. And it's funny that you mentioned that because Wolf is one of my favorite albums. This is something I was going to get a little later, but we can talk about it now. Being like the Odd Future kid, how was that like sharing the stage on Camp Flog now?
It was honestly, it was surreal. And shout out to Tommy and guys like Junie and Jordan who were there like backstage beforehand, who were very much like, yeah, bro, it's gonna be easy. You're gonna get up there, it's gonna be fine. Like you can't even see past the first few rows of people. Like you're gonna be good.
Oh, because with that and your anxiety.
Yeah, because it's like with my anxiety, it was a lot, but at the same time, I had a lot of people around there. Tommy's team, you know, some of my homies and other artists there who were just like, yeah, y'all got this. Like it's gonna be fun. Like the hard work is over. And it was crazy. And I would say in terms of being an Odd Future fan, like it was surreal, but I think it was a blessing that at this point in my life, like I felt like we deserved to be there. Like Tommy deserved to be there. Like being there with him, like I felt like I deserved to be there. So it was less of like a
And you looked
moment.
very natural on stage because I think your verse on Time Moves Forever might be one of my favorite verses from last year. No bullshit.
For real. And that's funny because that is like an 11th hour type of verse. Shout out to one of my closest homies and producers, Limo Music. He was in the studio with Tommy. I wasn't even there, and they were like finishing up the song.
Really?
And he was like, "Yo, like this would sound good with Jmack on it," and I was like one of the last additions to the project. So,
was that pre $1 Million Baby or after?
Pre. Yeah, I speak on it all the time, but Tommy has such like a high work ethic that the album
was already done.
Coyote was done mad like far before $1 Million Baby was made, and just like a blessing, you know, work ethic. Like we want to continue to put out music. That's what he did, and look how it worked out.
I don't know if this is the case. It might not be. There was a collab album / tape y'all were working on. Is that?
Bro, it's funny. We make a lot of music together, but we dead ass said it to each other the other day. Like we looked at each other and like, bro, sometimes I forget we make music together. Because like we're such homies that like we wake up and like we're the same type of person. We play the
and I think
UFC, like
that's more important than having like I feel like and that shows in the music when you're actually homies with the guy you're making music with as opposed to like, oh yeah, we should do this because it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
That's my brother for real. Like we've had to sleep on the same floor. Like we've had to travel for the music together. Like mega buses up to New York. Like he's somebody that I'll never not speak highly of.
So y'all, it's a collective. Everything is punk.
Yeah, bro. That is shout out to the homie Donnie Killjoy for the name, but that is Tommy's like brainchild in terms of like bringing together people from different genres and just kind of putting a show with all of our homies together. Like him and I make different music together than he makes alone, that I make alone, and the homie Paco makes by himself, and the homie Jonah makes. We all make different solo music, so that initially was an idea to like bring us all together with one show.
Is that when one of your, because you see, I guess everyone saw the blow up from like an outside lens, but then like when you're seeing like one of your real best friends' life changing, and in effect all your lives changing, was that like, how was that moment like oh fuck, like things aren't gonna be the same anymore in terms of like careers?
No, I mean it was really comforting, you know, because when all of this happened, like I went over to Tommy's house and we played the UFC video game, and
that's fire.
We drank and ate Wingstop, and that was it. Like still to this day, like we don't like sit around and like, isn't this crazy? Like we're about to go on tour together, and we don't really sit and talk about it. You know, it's more so just like the comfort of knowing that your friend is still the same and you're doing the same thing and working just as hard, you know?
You have a very interesting story, and the same shit kind of happened with me. You had an 11th grade teacher that changed your shit. And I had a very similar experience, not in terms of writing, but in terms of like, he was the first one outside of, I guess, my close friends. I wasn't even doing this back then, but just in general, when I was a kid, hearing a stranger saying that you're capable of doing something was like, when they have no incentive to as well, you know?
Yeah, bro. I mean, bro, I had no clue what I wanted to do, and it was a 11th grade English teacher by the name of Teresa Freiberger, who I'll always appreciate because she embarrassed the fuck out of me. I showed up to class on the first day of school. It's like advanced or AP English, and we had summer assignments, and she was handing everybody back their summer assignment so they could get their grade, and I didn't get mine back. And then she stands up at the front of the class and is like, I have one summer assignment that really blew me away, and I just wanted to read you guys some passages from it. And she was like reading what I had written, like annotations on like Pride and Prejudice and like the Maltese Falcon, like books for a summer assignment. And she was like, Jonathan, you have a real career as a writer. And I was like, that's what I'm doing now. And that's kind of how that all started. Did
that like put a new like a form of self-confidence in you? Like, okay, shit. If a stranger is like, not stranger, but like, again, someone who has like no incentive to tell you it's good is telling you it's good.
I think I'm somebody who grew up thinking that if I didn't do it the best, then I couldn't do it. And to have somebody tell me something that I had never even attempted that I was really good at, it was like validation in a way that I didn't even question it. I wrote it down like in my mind of like, cool, yep, I'm good at this thing.
Yeah.
And I got my teacher that said it. So this is my backup for that. So I appreciate her for life because she put a type of, I wouldn't even say a battery in my back, but like a shield over it in terms of like, nobody can tell me that I can't write Because
Yeah.
when I was writing like begrudgingly at a time where I was a lot less mentally developed, I was told by
Yeah.
somebody who looked at it from an objective lens and was like, yo, this is great. So I appreciate her always.
We're also the same in the sense that we're both anxious as fuck. So that's something that I work through and deal with on a daily basis. I don't know if I gotten better at it. I don't know if I gotten worse at it. It is more so like I live with it. I always tell people that I feel like sometimes being anxious could yield a benefit because you're forced to like over-calculate things so you can kind of work ahead. But it also gets very debilitating because it's like, because you're trying to over-calculate everything and you're worried about every possible scenario, you kind of stand still.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know more about like your relationship with anxiety and how like, are you maybe, I don't think it's something you overcome, it's something you live with, or like how have you developed like more of a healthier relationship with it?
I'm gonna be honest, bro. I'm rotten over here, brother.
Yeah.
I'm over here spiraling consistently, but you know, we keep it pushing, and I think that that's the biggest example that I feel like I could set is like, bro, I'm tweaking all the time, but at the same time, like, I'm still going. So,
Do you have any grounding things you do?
aside from things that can be considered vices, not really. Like nothing that a therapist would be like, this is what you would ground yourself with. I would say, if anything, I've started to try and get back into like physical activity, being less,
That helps, bro.
being less sedentary.
That definitely helps. Is it like in terms of like career wise you're always like thinking about, like, is it, because also we do live in an era of numbers, and this is something that I like grapple with as well, where just kind of like with the numbers, it's like if something does great, I'm feeling amazing. Something does shit, it fucks me up. And then I start thinking that like, oh, should I do this? Should I not be doing this, etc.
Bro, I grew up as the type of kid that thought like somehow through some elaborate scheme that nobody liked me and my parents bought all my friends. Like that's like the level of anxious that I was like, like I'm consistently thinking about perception and how people see me and how I affect other people, and not wanting to make anybody feel a type of way. That I think that anxiety manifests itself in a lot of different type of ways, and for me, it comes and goes, but it is always ever present in terms of interactions and people and wanting to put the best version out there of myself, but also not really understanding what that is.
Has that gotten easier as the career's grown, or?
No shot.
Really?
No shot. But I mean, the career's gotten better though.
That's what I'm saying though.
So it's like, keep it going, keep it moving, and if it gets better, I'll let somebody know.
Like the way that I do it's like checkpoints. It's like, you were worried X amount of years ago that this thing was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, it happened. So now it's maybe these little side thoughts you have in your head aren't always true. Because I feel like sometimes our inside voices are a lot louder than reality a lot of the times.
Sure.
And it's just like, it's just choosing understanding when it's rooted in reality or not. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, bro. I mean, the realest manifestation of anxiety is finding something immediately to worry about after you've kind of quelled that last thing that you were worried
Dude,
about.
yeah. I that's something I was looking for the words for say, but yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, it's hard because people will talk to those with anxiety and be like, yo, are you, like, you got past it. Like, see, that wasn't as bad as it was in your mind. And I'm like, in the 2 minutes you just took to explain that to me,
I thought of
something else to worry about. So, yeah, keep it pushing.
And does the music you make at least help you? Like, is that more of a release factor for you, that like you're at least getting more comfortable with yourself through the music? Does the anxiety make the music? Does the music
I'm so anxious that sometimes I don't listen to songs when they're out.
Bro, I'm the same way.
I don't, like, songs will drop and I've heard it a million times when I made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, it's not like I haven't listened to it. It's not like I don't like it, but like, it's for other people now. And that makes me anxious.
Really?
But like, yeah, I don't know. I'm a flighty guy. I'm a pretty flighty individual. So
you talk about a moment where you decided, you've been making music for like what, 6 years now, but you say you've only been taking it seriously for the past like 2-3 years?
Yeah.
What was that point for you?
Meeting my manager, Gutty, because if I was the sole arbiter of what was best for me, then I wouldn't be here. You know, there's the people in our lives are those that are supposed to help guide us, and we help guide them. And he's somebody that is invaluable to me because he saw enough in me to be able to be like, yo, let me go outside of myself and point you in the right direction in terms of how you're making music, because I believe in you, you know. So that's people believing in me would be the turnaround in that.
And I feel like, bro, like you mentioned this in an interview, it's all about consistency. Like, I was literally just having a talk with them. I've been doing this for like maybe 4 or 5 years now, but I honestly, in terms of consistency, I feel like this is really only my 2nd year doing it.
Yeah.
In terms of like, okay, this is actually how you're supposed to operate. So I felt, was there a difference between like when you actually started taking shit seriously in terms of the growth aspect?
Yeah, bro. Like I said, I'm an anxious person, and I think that my desire to take things seriously, because there were more talented and or more dedicated people than me that I love dearly taking it seriously, and I was worried they were gonna leave me.
Yeah.
You feel me? Because I'm a lazy son of a bitch. So it's like I'm sitting in my room, like I'll smoke weed and play video games and listen to music and waste away. But there are people out there with legitimate aspirations within the music that took it more seriously than I did, that I cared about deeply, that we're moving to LA, we're moving to New York, and I didn't want to get left behind. So if anything, like, I speak to fear and anxiety and some of these negative feelings not always being the worst thing. And it's like not. showing up is the biggest thing. And I feel like, for lack of a better term, like, all I've done is show up despite a lot of stuff. And it's been a blessing.
I want to talk about My Name Isn't, because that was kind of my first introduction to you. So the entire album is it based on like different therapy sessions that you had?
Yeah.
How did that go about?
Bro, cycling through therapists. They don't like me and I don't like them. Because I think that I'm still to this day like unwilling to fold on certain things. And a lot of the really a lot of it was psychiatry. And the fact that psychiatrists like you to be at like a base level of like regular. And it's like, I'm smoking weed, I'm drinking consistently. And they're like, well, you're never going to know if the medicine works if you're consistently high all the time. And I'm like, if your medicine can't work while I'm high, then it's not gonna work. So that was the belief for a long. I ran through so many, like 3-4 psychiatrists just within like a 15-minute radius of like my house back in Virginia, just because I was so unwilling to take advice, and different prescriptions didn't work out. And a lot of the therapy sessions that I have on the album are related to the Quarter Life Crisis album that I put out.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
that's the first ever. Those are real conversations with my therapist. Like I just straight up recorded on my phone so that people could hear like kind of these adversarial relationships that I have with therapists, and it kind of carries over into the My Name Isn't album, where I'm getting different advice from people. So the first song, Effort Therapy, is about like, hey, you need to put more effort, and it's like, did you put the effort in? And a lot of that's a trigger word with me and therapists. Like, did you try? I'm like, the fuck do you know? And then the next one, Feathers Therapy, was more of like you gotta be light as a feather. And it's kind of a piece of advice I received from a therapist. And the last one, the first, Dragging, is like the biggest piece of advice. It's like, you need to let that go before it drags you.
I like that one.
And it's like, that's the hook. It's like, I need to let it go before it drags me, because it's like I've held on to a lot of things that have just kind of pulled me along.
Going to all these different therapists, was it like you had a piece of advice that you wanted to hear, that you were waiting to hear?
I think that one of my biggest flaws of self is like remembering shit. Like, I'm pretty good with so I would take whole therapy sessions and use it against people who just wanted to see me be better. And I'm like, well, my therapist says this, that, the third. Like, so that's something I've tried to get better about, is not weaponizing, my own mental health and the advice from other people. Because it's like, everybody has their own perspectives,
You had a line on, I forgot what song it was. I got more problems than 7-Eleven.
Oh yeah, it's Angry Little Accidents. That's a shout out to the 757, because anybody who's been there knows that we're the type of place, bro. We have 7-Elevens across the street from each other. We have 7-Elevens down the block from each other, and that has always been like, I need to shout out the amount of 7-Elevens we have in the 757.
Do you feel like, and I always wonder this, do you feel like, is it being in like an uneasy mental state that creates the music? Because a lot of people say that like, okay, like I'm creating the music to cope with X, Y, and Z. And, if I weren't happy, then I wouldn't be creating the music that I'd be making right now, which people like.
Yeah, I worry about that all the time. But at the same time, like, a lot of it is just like visceral emotion. I have a hard time making songs about something.
It's just coming out.
Yeah, it's like, I have a hard time if you were to be like, pick something in this room, whether it be an adjective about something, a noun, like something in this room to write about, the conversation we're having. Pick something going on to write about. Like, I probably couldn't do it. I would have to like scroll through my notes app and show you something that I wrote that was like a real, like, I don't know when I felt it, but I felt it. Like, here's this bar, you know, because I read a lot of my stuff a cappella and just kind of in my head. I'm a psychopath.
Talking about archetyping.
Archetyping? Yeah. The girl that's about asked me if that was about her recently.
And what did you tell her?
Nah, I folded. I had to be like, you know, I hit her with the check-ins and savings answer, like the Kevin Hart response, pretty much like, you know, I don't really write songs like that. I got songs I write in the moment, and I got songs that I write about things, and like I don't really do either. I just kind of, cause like it's hard, right? Like arguments and putting stuff into music. What
was the line you had? You fighting with your lighter?
Oh yeah, so I'm equating arguing with somebody over the phone to try to light a joint while it's windy outside, because it's like I was arguing with somebody on a phone trying to light a joint, and I'm just like, both of these things are pointless, and that's just kind of where that came from.
So Cavalier came from like you missing Virginia, and then the first was it the first single from the single run, American Spirit? That was after a long break. Yeah. So American Spirit was made after I like fled LA in a sense. Like I was just dealing with a lot out here. So I just took an impromptu trip back to Virginia, and I stayed for too long, and then had to come back out and get back to work, because this is my life, my job now. And it felt like I couldn't do it. So I'm somebody that has a hard time taking breaks. Like I just kind of have to consistently be writing. Are you music full time now?
Yeah.
How is that switch like going from, like, I know we kind of spoke off camera, and like we DM'd like a few months ago that you were a barista, which is like fitting for the show. How is that going from like having a job that's like more structured to like now you pick the structure? Like your day depends on what you decide to do today.
It's terrible, bro. I'm still bad at it.
Yeah.
I'm still really bad at it, because like I go through like an ounce in like 2-3 days.
But I feel like everyone just finds that formula for them. And I feel like a lot of people will also be pleasantly surprised how many of their artists that they listen to also hold like day jobs as well.
Yeah, man. And that's something that is like growing through discomfort. It's like, if you're comfortable where you're at, and you're comfortable where you're at making music, and that doesn't require you to go anywhere or do anything else, like that's fine. But I would raise the question, do you think you're growing? And that's what I had to ask myself. Is I was in Virginia putting out music with people who liked it and doing the shows that I could, but needed to continue to grow, you know.
What's coming up on this new project that you can talk about?
I mean, bro, I'll talk about it all. It's gonna be great. It's a lot more momentary. So My Name Isn't, Quarter Life Crisis, The Lords of Sounds and Lesser Things, these larger bodies of work were all based around some grandiose idea or like theme or message that I was trying to get across, whether it be about like crises within life, The Lords of Sounds and Lesser Things being like a reference to Zora Neale Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God, and how that related to my mental health and who I thought I was, or My Name Isn't being like the first introduction to this character. It's going to be called BookMark 2.
BookMark 2?
Yeah.
Oh, off the first one.
Yeah. So
wasn't the first one based off, like, you used to read a lot as a kid and never had bookmarks or something like that?
No, so it's based around, the first project BookMark 1 was a stopping point where it was like, we had so much music that we had made that got cut from My Name Isn't that we wanted to put it out, and it was a blessing, because that's where people started to hear like Leak and numbers and shit. I
love Leak.
Thank you, bro. And Out the Way and stuff like that, and that was like people's first introduction to me, so I'm excited to show them BookMark 2, because this is it's not a grandiose idea, it's more songs that represent where I've been at in the moment. So
is that more freeing though, when it's not like a big idea you're trying to get across and these are just songs that I want to put out?
Yeah, it's a lot more freeing, but at the same time it's kind of scary, right? Because there's sounds on this project like archetyping. People probably haven't heard me over 808s like that. Like there's a song called 40% that's gonna surprise some people. It's like an interlude, but if people are gonna like it. And then there's like songs, like a song called O2 Sonata that's gonna end up being like probably some people's favorite if they're like longtime fans and based off the style of music. My personal favorite is a song called Lemon Ginger.
Lemon Ginger?
Yeah. It's gonna be great. It's a lot of different styles, leaning more into the stack vocals and trying to create a different sound, you know.
If there's one thing you want people to come out the project with, what would it be?
That I'm consistently getting better, and that the next shit's gonna be a classic. Because it's like, I think this one is really good, but like I'm consistently getting better, and like when we're having this conversation, like the project that's about to drop is getting uploaded, and it's gonna be out in March, and we have like 75 songs in the vault for the next one. So gonna try and get up to like 150,
and then deduct,
and then cut down to like 14.
Do you feel like from the outside looking in, it seems that like production value is getting larger, like everything is just growing at like a faster rate. In terms of like the team behind, is it different now that there's like maybe like a larger team or like more eyes on the project, and did that like affect the music making? They're like, okay, now we can do different things. We can be more ambitious with the ideas.
Bro, like I said, I'm an amalgamation of the people and the places and the things that have shaped me and believed in me, and the videographers, videographers, creative directors, producers. Like, we don't really have that large of a team. It's more so been a few people who have been brought on, like my homie Ian Anthony, or friends that we've collaborated with, like Andrew PW or Josh Flores on the videography side. But like a lot of it is friends that I'm blessed to say, like, it's gotten better because people have gotten better, and the people that believed in me have gotten better, like I have. And it's a lot of the same people, you know. So that's what I would say. It's a testament to like growth and the people that believed in me and the team all kind of getting better, you know, because the last project, there was like one beat on there that wasn't made by a producer from the project previous. Yeah. So yeah, like we really are growing together.
One thing I forgot to ask you, going back to the DMV, who are some DMV artists you're listening to? You shout them out.
So are we talking DMV specifically, or like into the Sem5 Virginia as a whole? Okay, word. So DMV as a whole, of course, we already mentioned Junie. I really like Max Free. Max Free, yeah, he works with Junie a lot. Very tough. I'm a big Zamman fan. Yeah. I think they freed No Savage. That's big for the area. Those are all people that I listen to relatively frequently. And then in terms of Virginia, Quadjo is somebody that I listen to a lot. My homie Donnie Killjoy, who moved from Virginia to New York. Very talented. Ashley White, very good. 2 E's, very good. Yeah, there's a lot of Virginia cats that I'm looking out for. There's a producer by the name of John Trainum who works out of White Star Sound, and he just does like, he makes like plugins and like will build shit for people like that. So yeah, there's a lot of talent in Virginia that people need to tap into.
My boy, I think that's a beautiful way to end.
Of course.
I appreciate you coming through.
Of course.
Where can people find you at?
So at mynameisntjmack, MACK. I get a lot of like, my name isn't Jack, which it's not. Yeah. But like, it's not. My name isn't Jmack. I think at this point we've worked hard enough to be able to look up at My Name Isn't. You should be able to find the dude with the dreads over his face.
My boy, appreciate you coming through.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, brother.